is breaking news from DawgNation.
Good evening, DawgNation. I am Brandon Adams. Welcome into this Kroger Commitment Special, where in a matter of just a few minutes, we're going to find out what we believe the final decision will be for the five-star quarterback in the class of 2026, Jared Curtis, as he chooses between Georgia and Oregon. As the great Brent Musburger once said, you are looking live there at Nashville, Tennessee, at Nashville Christian School, where in a few moments, Curtis will take his seat at the center of that podium, and he'll tell the world whether it's Georgia or whether it's Oregon, and whether you want to view it as the final or just the latest chapter in this ongoing recruiting saga will continue. We have our DawgNation team on hand for that. Kaylee, Mansell, Jeff Sentell. They are live in Nashville. Hope to hear from both of them tonight, and hope to hear one way or another from Jared Curtis, too, after the decision is made. At the very least, we will hear Curtis on our airwaves here in a moment. So you found the right stream. We're going to bring that ceremony live to you when it begins. And then when it's over, we hope to have the chance to hear from Curtis himself, the man of the hour, of course. The recruiting rankings tell the story. This is the number one player in the state of Tennessee, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, number one quarterback nationally, and the number two overall national recruit, regardless of position. This is a former Georgia commit, committing to Georgia in March of 2024 before stepping back from that pledge in October. However, in the aftermath of that, there were numerous visits by Curtis to Georgia, so Georgia remained an ever-present factor in that recruitment, and we'll find out today if the things that Georgia has done to maintain that relationship are enough to earn the commitment. Before we go to Nashville, bring this ceremony to you, and perhaps hear from some of the folks we have on the ground there. Always kind of nice to kind of get the lay of the land and sort of the feel of the room. Before we do that, let me also say hello to one of my DawgNation colleagues, Connor Riley. And Connor, I know you've been covering this story closely and observing it closely just like I have. And I'm curious if you get the sense that I do, that I would say as we've gotten closer to this decision, I think the vibe has really intensified. Maybe that's a level of optimism on the part of Georgia fans, but I'm just talking about from an interest standpoint, where I feel like as we've gotten closer and closer to this announcement, obviously getting ready to go down here in a couple of minutes, I get the impression that the interest on the part of Georgia fans here is at a fever pitch. First of all, have you noticed that? And what all would you kind of, ascribe that to if that is indeed the case?
Yeah, I just think that this is something, for as well as Georgia's recruited, they've landed at least 4 5-star prospects in each recruiting class dating back to the 2018 cycle. We don't see this a ton with quarterback in particular, Georgia. Yes, they landed Justin Fields in 2018. Yes, they landed Brock Vandagriff in 2021. But, they didn't really go after a 5-star guy all that seriously in the last recruiting cycle. You have to go back really to Arch Manning in the 2023 recruiting cycle for the last time you saw someone of Curtis's caliber in terms of a recruiting aspect sort of go through this decision. And it is a recruitment that has taken a lot of twists and turns. There's been a lot of information out there. I think there's 2 clear contenders here in Georgia and Oregon, and there are some similarities between the two, obviously, with Dan Lanning working at Georgia and working for Kirby Smart. And so I think all of it sort of lines up for there to be some intrigue, along with the fact that he is the right now number 1 ranked quarterback in this 2026 recruiting class. And all that just sort of builds into an interest where Georgia for a while hasn't landed a player like Curtis in this recruiting cycle. And obviously the question becomes, will Georgia then be able to hold on to him if they land him? Because Dylan Raiola committed in that 2024 class roughly around this same time in the year, only for him to ultimately end up at Nebraska. But given, I think, the way that you've seen the Curtis recruitment take all these twists and turns, I do think that today's decision has a very good chance of being the final decision, being one that he sticks with all the way through National Signing Day.
Let me reset what you're seeing here. We're hearing from our DawgNation colleague Connor Riley, but also in the big box there to my right is the scene at Nashville Christian School, where in just a moment Jared Curtis is going to make his announcement. The big screen on display there showcasing some of the stats and some of the official particulars as to why Curtis is such a coveted prospect. You also hear the sound there of the buzz in the building. Hopefully in a couple of moments we'll kind of find out what the scene looks like, how many folks are there, how they're dressed, what color clothing they happen to be wearing. And as you kind of pull back now, you see a little bit more of the more traditional backdrop. Obviously, the school celebrating, its credentials here, and why would they not on a big day for one of their favorite sons? And of course, the two Nashville Christian helmets on both sides of that, with the microphones there in the center. And at least for now, very little in the way of any kind of identifying characteristics about this at all, including, to my eyes anyway, no hats on the table whatsoever. So nothing in the way of clues right now about how this might be going. Right now, the only ephemera you see is really that of the high school that Jared Curtis goes to. So we'll kind of keep our eyes on if that changes as the room starts to fill up here over the course of the next 10 minutes. We'll give you more on that too. While we have time, though, Connor, let me go back to you here. I think the player comp we hear most frequently, and this is certainly an interesting one for Georgia fans, is that of Matthew Stafford. Is that a good one for you? Obviously, if you want to go back to the class of 2006, which is now almost 2 full decades ago, certainly Stafford's arrival here at Georgia was met with unbelievable fanfare. Do you think that the player comp that you hear for Stafford with Curtis, is that a fair one in your mind?
I would say an evolutionary Matthew Stafford in the sense that, the quarterback position today, I think, requires you to be a good bit more athletic, mobile, be able to move and navigate within the pocket behind the line of scrimmage than necessarily it was with Matthew Stafford, where, mind you, at that point in the recruiting rankings, you had sort of the pocket passer and the dual threat. Curtis is a capable athlete, but I think when he gets to the next level, he is not this in Lamar Jackson vein type of athlete that is going to rip off big runs and impact the game that way. If he's going to win at the next level, it's going to be because of his arm. And he has the prototypical size and does a lot of the things that you look for there. I think the big thing with Jared when he makes that leap to the next level is the difference in competition, because at Nashville and where he plays, this is not, in comparison to, say, high-level Georgia high school football, and even, I think, even some of the lower level, single A, double A here in Georgia that it compares to. So I'll be very interested in seeing moving forward how he transitions to that next level, because he does have all the tools and all the physical skill sets at the next level, I think, to live up to a Matthew Stafford comparison.
All right, Connor, do me a favor. Stay right where you are, because after this decision goes down in less than 10 minutes, I want to come back to you and get some thoughts on the news, whatever it happens to be, whether it's Georgia or Oregon, the two, we believe, finalists here for Jared Curtis today. So, Connor, we'll check back with you in a moment. I also want to go to Nashville, Tennessee here, where on the scene is our DawgNation recruiting insider, Jeff Sentell. And Jeff, looks like the room is just starting to get filled up there. The vibe in the room is always interesting to me, how full it is, what the mood of the folks are. Obviously, Georgia fans are curious how they're dressed, what colors you see prominently on display, other than just the home team colors there for Nashville Christian School. So describe to us what you're seeing and hearing right now.
Good afternoon, DawgNation. We're here embedded, I guess I would call it, press row with other assembled media types here for the Jared Curtis announcement here at Nashville Christian. I know how you love it when we dispense with the pleasantries, Brandon. I'm going to kind of tell you the thing that I bet will catch your ear more than anything else, maybe more than anything else that we could tell you in the moments right before a big decision like this one. Jared Curtis is currently clad in an all-black tracksuit, black quarter zip, black track pants. His mother and father are also in long-sleeved black jackets. It is obviously, you don't need to be a CSI recruiting investigator to piece together that a part of this announcement will include unzipping or taking off those jackets to reveal something underneath. I'm told it will shake down. You guys are looking at the podium right now. There will be an announcement. There will be a declaration of choice from Curtis for his school. And then there will be the commitment video, which is, I guess you see or have seen above the step and repeat here at Nashville Christian. That will be one of those traditional old school commitment videos, kind of celebrating his choice of Oregon or Georgia here. One thing I must say, Brandon, the feeling here is kind of one of those OG, old school commitment days. I was making the trip up to Nashville this morning with our Kaylee Mansell, and I was kind of thinking, this is a lot of buzz, and it kind of the closest thing that reminds me, even in this era, Brandon, of NIL and revenue share and supersized dollars for quarterbacks. It kind of reminds me for the Georgia people of the buzz about Justin Fields, Matt Corral in the 2018 recruiting class. That's kind of what it feels like. You have a 5-star quarterback. He's the #1 quarterback in the country for both the On3 industry ranking and the 24/7 Sports Composite. He has elite arm talent. I mean, we don't try to make too big of leaps here with high school players, but the projections do fall in line with the Staffords of the world. I've heard coaches and scouts say that he will give you a top 10 workout you've ever seen when you really see him spin the ball. And that's very interesting. Should he choose Georgia, it would be the first 5-star quarterback for the Dogs since Brock Vandegrift in 2021. And eventually, if you look back at all the recruiting rankings, he would fall just behind Fields as the highest rated quarterback that Georgia would sign, and that is also indicative of him going on to sign with Georgia. I've been told that this feels like a finish line for Curtis and his family. They're ready for this recruiting process to switch from decision mode to recruit the dudes around you mode.
Let me ask you this, Jeff. Oftentimes, and we'll let you get in place for the broadcast after this, but oftentimes we do ceremonies like this. We're in our home state of Georgia. That means there's definitely a home state pull for the prospect when he's announcing in front of the crowd there at his school. A lot of Georgia fans in the building. Nashville's obviously closer to Athens, and that's one of the things that maybe the Curtis family has recognized. But do you get much of a sense that Georgia's operating on a sort of a home field advantage or home court advantage here with this announcement? Is there any kind of pro-Georgia vibe that you're seeing from the folks who are gathering to watch the ceremony take place?
Nah, Brandon, as much as I could try to paint a picture for that, this is really a pro-Jared Curtis vibe. He's a guy that, has really become the athletic face of this school. He's a guy that I'm told is able to keep his team first, and that's one of the things that he wanted to do as he prepared for this announcement. I was told that there wasn't no set specifics for Cinco de Mayo. They don't want to go celebrate with chips and salsa or their favorite beverage after this one. They just wanted a good time after the transfer portal had closed for them to come and make their decision. It's very interesting to kind of see the way this school is putting its best foot forward today for Jared Curtis. He's a guy that I've been continually told by people around Nashville Christian is all this attention, all this hype. He somehow makes it seem always like it's about Nashville Christian here. One little bit of news update. I'm also told that Jared is kind of recovering from an issue that he will be limited in spring practice this year.
Okay.
He won't be, letting it rip full go. He will be very limited, maybe just standing and throwing the route tree and everything else like that. And that's really coming from a place of extreme caution.
Yeah.
He's actually having to be held back by the staff here at Nashville Christian to not do too much because there's no need to. His full focus, I'm told, after today will be a repeat state championship for Nashville Christian School in the fall.
Jeff, great stuff. We'll let you get in place for the ceremony. We're going to see it live in the DawgNation video channels in just a couple of moments. Then we'll hope to catch up with you and Jared Curtis himself after that's over. Jeff, thanks so much for your time.
Hey, thanks, BA. We'll all know in a few minutes.
Good stuff there from Jared Curtis. You see some of the folks starting to gather around there and seeing what's going on here when announcements start getting made as Curtis himself starts to make his way over. In fact, why don't we do this here, courtesy of our friends at Kroger. Let's get ready to take you live here to Nashville Christian School, Nashville, Tennessee. Family starting to gather around. You see coaching staff from Nashville Christian School on hand. We appreciate our friends at Kroger who make all this possible. As Jeff Sentell said, you've got the family clad in all black. Certainly seeing these announcements before would lead you to believe there's some sort of a reveal, either the green and gold of Oregon.
They're making fun of it right now.
The red and black of Georgia.
Sure it is. I don't know because it ain't mine.
But the announcement's going to get ready to be made here. Curtis and his family getting set and get ready to go, Jeff said that we will hear Curtis make his pledge, and then the commitment video will play after that. So the video, according to what Jeff Sentell tells us, will not be the reveal of the Curtis announcement. It'll instead be the follow-up to the announcement that he's going to make here on the scene at Nashville Christian. Typically speaking, in ceremonies such as this, you'll hear from people associated with the school. You may hear from the coaching staff. And then you'll get a chance to hear from Curtis. Let's go live. Nashville Christian School right now. Kroger Commitment Special.
For a special occasion, obviously, for Jared and his family, for our school and our football program. At this time, if you don't mind, I'd like to say a quick prayer as we open, as we should here at Nashville Christian. So pray with me. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity to be here and share this great blessing that is before Jared and his family. Thank you for this place and the people here. Pray that you would be glorified in everything that happens here today, Lord. We thank you for healthy bodies and athletics and high school and all the things that come with it. I just pray that you would, again, just be with us in this place and be glorified in everything. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, with that, you're not here for me, so I'm going to turn it over to Jared Curtis.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you all for coming out today. It means a lot. I would like to thank my family, teammates, coaches and trainers, and the NCS family in general for all the support y'all have given me. Thank you to Coach Lanning, Coach Smart for investing in me and pouring so much out to me during this process. With that being said, I'm grateful to announce that I'm committed to the University of Georgia.
Old school T-shirt on display here. Curtis has chosen the University of Georgia. Let's watch his commitment video. We're watching the commitment video for five-star quarterback Jared Curtis, who has announced his pledge to the University of Georgia. Big get here for the Dogs and the 2026 class. We're seeing live images from Nashville Christian School, Nashville, Tennessee. Here's more from Jared.
Patience is, I think we're getting some pictures made, certainly with the family and with coaches and teammates that want to be part of that. And I know there's a lot of media here that like to ask questions, and we'll get to you guys in just a minute if you don't mind being patient with that. And welcome to leave. Thanks for being a part of this, or you can stick around. It's up to you guys. So thanks again. At this time, we need to get some pictures for Nashville Christian of the family. I think first, right? Okay. So next slide. You guys are welcome to stick around. You can take off, and then media guys will get to you in just a minute.
So we're going to see Jared and his family pose for some pictures here, and we're going to hear from Jared after that. While this happens, we'll keep the image here on Jared. He's the man of the hour, of course, but I do want to check in back here with Connor Riley. Connor, we've done a lot of these commitment announcements before here, courtesy of Kroger and our DawgNation video channels. I don't know that we've ever seen one so quick and to the point as that one, almost to the point where I kind of wondered, wait, is this really going to be it? There was very little fanfare, not a lot of speeches prior to that, not very much preamble from Curtis at all. Curtis making that decision there of choosing Georgia there just a couple of moments ago. What's your immediate reaction to that?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. One of the faster commitments that I think we've seen in this situation. I think it speaks to Jared wanting to get this recruiting process over with. It's obviously been a long time. He first committed to Georgia in March of 2024 before then backing off that commitment in October. And if Georgia, I think that this is a huge win for the program, just in terms of you're able to win one of these recruitments where Oregon, we know and we hear so much about NIL and how competitive Oregon is in the NIL space. And for Georgia to land a player like Curtis in that regard, I think shows that Georgia can go out there and win one of these. Remember at the end of the last recruiting cycle, Georgia sort of losing Justice Terry at the 11th hour. I think it also speaks to Kirby Smart's ability to sort of recruit in the old-fashioned way, in the sense that relationships still matter, the ability to build these out over time. I think that this is a massive statement for Mike Bobo. He was the lead recruiter on Curtis. He's someone that has always been very fond of the quarterback. And for Jared Curtis to believe that he wants to come to Georgia, I think Mike Bobo is a big reason why that is the case. So a big statement here for Jared Curtis in terms of why he elects to come to Georgia and what it means for the Bulldogs in this 2026 recruiting cycle.
You used the word statement twice, and I think that's a very appropriate word to use here for all the reasons that you mentioned. You know, people want to see big things in the Georgia offense. Apparently, Jared Curtis is a believer that can happen. People wonder, can Georgia battle in these, NIL age era recruiting fights, the likes of which that Oregon seems to win on a pretty regular basis? This would seem to be an indication of that this is a pretty strong leading indicator of maybe where things can go for Georgia here in the future with sort of a centerpiece, quarterback, with the program perhaps being built around this in the future. And the other thing I'll say, Connor, is we continue to watch Jared Curtis posing for pictures. Now some of his teammates, looks to be his teammates, coming over to gather around him. We talked about this morning on DawgNation Daily. A year ago at this time, Curtis wasn't as big a deal to Georgia fans as he is now. That's just the nature of it, a present tense nature of recruiting talk among fans. But Georgia at the time, even though it was pursuing quarterbacks the class of 2025, was still seemingly with every one of its actions indicating that Curtis was their most prized possession. And it's really at that time, almost exactly a year ago, little more than a year ago now, that I think the ultimate groundwork was probably laid for this announcement to come here. On the left, you'll see Curtis doing it. On the right, you'll see the live image. But isn't it true, Connor, that the deep roots of this relationship were certainly planted going back a year ago when they were taking his commitment at a time when other quarterbacks in that 2025 class were trying to curry Georgia's favor?
Right, and I think there's even a more specific thing we can talk about here. There was so much talk about Juju Lewis, the former five-star quarterback from Carrollton. Remember, he was originally in this 2026 recruiting cycle, and Georgia made the choice to, in this class, prioritize Curtis, and they take Curtis's commitment in March of last year. Lewis ultimately reclassifies. Georgia elects to go with Ryan Montgomery in the 2025 recruiting cycle, and then Juju Lewis ultimately ends up at Colorado. So I think that the decision to prioritize Curtis so far in advance, again, this is a guy that was first offered in January of 2023, mind you, right after Mike Bobo takes over as the offensive coordinator for Todd Monken there. So I think just in terms of, again, this says so much about the way that I think Georgia is willing to navigate and go in this new era of college football. Because look, Georgia with five-star quarterbacks under Kirby Smart, the three that they've landed, Jacob Eason, Justin Fields, and Brock Vandagriff, all finished their careers elsewhere. And so I certainly understand if you're wary of that, especially in this day and age, the transfer portal is what it is. But I think having established that, this is a new age. Georgia winning a recruitment like this, especially where it seems of late, you've seen them lose some in this regard. And then moving forward, if you're going to commit the kind of resources that a Jared Curtis, the number one quarterback in the country, is going to command, you're going to have to be pretty committed to him. And so Curtis makes that commitment to Georgia today, and I'm fascinated to see moving forward what Curtis's development looks like at the University of Georgia.
By the way, is that the oldest school T-shirt you've ever seen? And I mean that in a very complimentary fashion. As somebody who grew up on old school Georgia gear, I mean, that's taking it back to my era right there as a young man growing up, the very old school T-shirt that he's wearing. I'll give you a chance to speak more about that later on. I think we're about to hear from Jared Curtis. Let's check in on that. And Connor, if you can, we'll talk to you after it's over with.
I didn't want to do that. Yeah, whatever you want to do.
So do you want to do cool right now? Is that what you come out for? Yeah, what else?
We don't need the live mic, right? Y'all got your own stuff.
Yeah, we're probably good. Yeah.
Is this over everything? No, it's not over everything. It's just right here.
You're seeing folks gather in place here as Curtis is going to spend some time answering questions. We'll kind of just take this and hear everything that he has to say. Some of this will come from the local Nashville contingent, and those questions will not be related to Georgia probably as much. but also our Jeff Sentell, Kaylee Mansell on hand here too. We'll get plenty from them. They're getting in place here right now. So we're going to hear a variety of questions from Curtis as he gets ready to make his announcement. You see that DawgNation mic kind of getting in place there right now.
Not as smart as I thought it was. There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Here's Jared Curtis.
Jared, I guess the obvious question first is when did you know that Georgia was going to be going?
I said they both came by school this past week, so I think Friday I had a good idea, and then I made the final decision today.
Did the coaches know, or did they find out that way?
I told Coach Lane and Coach Stein right before today around 4 o'clock.
Have you told Kirby?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've told Coach Smart and Coach Bobo. I actually called Coach Smart, messed with him a little bit, like, "Hey, Coach, I appreciate it," and then I couldn't go any farther, so I let him know, and he was pretty hyped. So I'm excited for that.
So what you said they both came by the school this week?
Yes, sir. This past week, Coach Bobo and Coach Stein came by the school. Yes, sir.
What do you remember what days?
I believe it was Monday and Wednesday. Monday and Tuesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What resonated the most in those last visits that you had?
I'd say just getting to hang out with them one last time because I canceled my in-home visits on Sunday. So just getting to talk to them one last time and just getting to build that connection again once again. So I'd say one like that.
Like specifically with Georgia, though, was there anything that you said this feels good?
Yeah, I'd say just talking to Coach Bobo. I've been up there so many times and built a relationship with all the coaches. But getting up there with Coach Bobo and him coming down to us, so that made an impression. And just getting to talk to him was just really good in general.
What was it about that program that you wanted to be a part of?
I'd say, obviously they're a really good program, which both programs are, and Georgia, I've been committed there once, and I just have a really good relationship with all the coaches, so I think that's probably the biggest factor.
What is it about them that you think that they can help develop you as a quarterback?
I'd say Coach Bobo, he's been doing it a long time, and he's told me that he doesn't have any desire to stop now, so I feel like he knows a lot about the game, and he'll get me to where I want to be for sure.
Jared, what was Kirby's reaction to your little mini joke where you said, "I can't do it anymore"?
He got really quiet, and then when I let him know, he got very excited and started yelling a little bit. So that was good to hear.
Is it familiarity, location? Like, what's the biggest reason? Put your finger on the biggest reason why the Dogs won out here.
I'd say probably the biggest reason is just the relationship with coaches. Like, both schools are great, and I had a great connection with both coaches. But just going to Georgia so many times, obviously, they had a little advantage knowing all their coaches and getting to reach out to their coaches and talk to them.
How much does getting to stay in the SEC play a part in your decision?
Going through it didn't really matter to me, but I feel like it matters to a lot of other people. But I never really looked at it that way. I'm just grateful to play anywhere.
Jared, is there a sense of finality to this? Is it also a sense of relief? Like, what's going through your mind right now that I guess you're done? You hit the finish line.
Yes, sir. Focus on high school. Got to finish out this year before I get to college. So just focusing on this year and helping my teammates while I'm injured right now. And then I'll go back and hopefully win another state championship.
Who would you say are some of the guys that you're going after to help round out this class with Georgia? Jackson Cantwell's a guy that both y'all have been. Considering Oregon, who are you going after, and what is going to be your message to guys going forward? I'm going to start today. But I've been talking to Jackson a little bit, and then talked to Vance a couple of times, and some other players. But I'm definitely going to start this evening and start to ramp it up a lot. What's the main message about why guys should join Georgia?
I feel like they're going to build something special, and I feel like they'll get right back to where they were a couple years ago.
With Coach Bobo specifically, how would you describe the job he did recruiting not just you, but recruiting your family and those girls too?
I'd say he did an awesome job. Him and my mom got really, really close, and he's just a family person. So we all love him around the house, and I feel like that was probably the biggest factor.
Jared, what does this mean to kind of reach this year at Nashville Christian, be able to stay with your guys and kind of get to this level?
Yes, sir. They helped me get to where I'm at, and if it wasn't for my teammates or anything like that, then I wouldn't be going to play any college ball. So, just being around them and letting them support me and me supporting them.
How important is it to kind of continue lifting up the Nashville Christian name as you kind of move on to the bigger stages?
Once again, if it wasn't for Nashville Christian, I probably wouldn't be in this situation as well. So I'm grateful for everything they've done for me, and yeah.
Jared, what do you want DawgNation to know that they're getting in Jared Curtis? What are they getting in this quarterback, strong-arm quarterback from Nashville, Tennessee?
I'm ready to work, go up there. I got a lot to learn, but I want to go up there and hopefully make an impact pretty early. But I'm going to work for sure 100%, and I'm looking forward to it.
What was your family's reaction to the news? Your mom, she's kind of not played secrets about how much she loved the Dogs, but what was the family reaction to this news?
So I texted them last night and let them know, and I sent it to the family group chat. My mom started crying. She loves Georgia. I told my dad to secretly record, so I got a good video of that, and my sister was pretty excited as well.
What was the message?
I just texted them and said, "Wear Georgia things tomorrow," and they got pretty excited. So.
What did Coach Bobo and Coach Smart tell you was the main reason they wanted you to come be a part of their offense and eventually lead their team?
That's a good one. I'd say just where I'm at. Like, I got a lot of work to do, obviously. So they feel like when I get that work done, and when the time comes that I could come in there and help them out a lot. So I'm looking forward to that.
Jared, we were talking about your tattoos earlier. I think we talked about it before, but is there any meaning behind the tattoos on your left arm there?
Yes, sir. This is from my uncle. Forever grateful. My grandfather. If you believe in yourself, anything's possible. Uncle as well down here. One of my best friends. Tiger Eye. This is for my nephew right over there that's just up here. My number with my family's name in it.
Is there anything you can tell us about your uncle and your grandfather?
My uncle, he didn't play. He played baseball when he was little, but he never played any football. But we was pretty close. I always go duck hunting and stuff like that when I was younger. And then actually May the 1st of last year is when he passed away.
Did you say, I can't remember if we spoke one time, did you say that you'll be the first in your immediate family to go to college?
My sister just graduated from,
Okay.
yes, sir. She just graduated
Where'd she go?
Austin P. She went to Swanee on scholarship for basketball and transferred 1 year and went to Austin P and just graduated. Yes, sir.
Quarterback is a position. You got one on the field. It's tough to start day one in the SEC. What has Georgia's message been to you about what your first year on campus could look like, and how are you approaching things when it's getting to campus? I'm assuming you're getting there in January. Right?
Yes, sir. I'll be graduating early. Obviously they have great players on the team and great players in the quarterback room, and I have a lot of work to do, and I just look forward to going up there and working and hopefully getting a chance.
Jared, tell us a little bit about the injury. How long will you be sidelined? When can you be full go again?
This summer sometime I will. I just got cleared to throw a little bit a couple weeks ago, so I've been doing that a little bit, but this summer for sure I'll be clear.
How glad are you that this is kind of over? Like, did this get a little bit stressful with the decommitment, and then obviously a ton of schools come back into the picture?
I'd say definitely, I'm definitely glad, relieved a lot, but it got a little stressful the last couple of days, but nothing crazy, and but yeah.
Was that the worst part? Just like, okay, I gotta make up my mind now. Like, they've
Yes,
all
sir.
come through.
Yes, sir. I think that, and the worst part probably would be just telling the other coaches. That was the biggest thing for me, and so that didn't go lightly to me, but I'm glad. I'm appreciative.
Any former Georgia quarterbacks you look up to or think are pretty great?
I know of a couple, but I don't really watch a lot of football, so I couldn't like.
Did you get to know any of the current players on the team? Y'all got close with any of those guys, and who was it, and what was their message about why you know?
I know Ryan Puglisi, and I know Talon Taylor, and a couple of those other 2025 receivers. And, I think they just wanted me to be a part of it because I think they realize what Georgia's building as well. So,
Did they know how excited those guys going to be to have you coming in this role?
What'd you say, sir?
Did those guys know about your decision, and how excited are they going to be as far as to
I think they just found out. Didn't let anyone know. So, I'm sure. I hope they'll be excited, and I can't wait to get up there and work with them.
Let's take a couple more.
Jared, what sort of example do you hope you kind of set for future generations of Nashville Christian kids? Kind of looking to get. What sort of example do you hope you set for future generations of Nashville Christian kids looking to get to the same stage?
We got a really good backup quarterback that I hope is in my shoes in the next couple of years, and he's going to be really good. So I feel like I got to continue to work. Obviously, I'm not done yet, So I got one more year. So just teach him and help him out and help him succeed as well.
Jared, you heard the good news, the reaction. What was Kaylee and Will Stein's reaction to telling them it's going to be Georgia?
They were really helpful. They didn't complain or get mad or anything. They were very caring, and they just said that they hope I do good and succeed wherever I'm at.
Jared, this is kind of a full circle moment. Your first choice is your final choice. What does that feel like, that the school you fell in love with first becomes the one in the end?
I think it's just a relationship with the coaches. Like it feels good. It feels good, and just my relationship with them has helped throughout this whole thing. So no matter when it is or what it was about, I could always call Coach Bobo and Coach Smart, and they would help me throughout the whole situation. So I'd say that's probably the biggest thing.
Jared, the new kind of component to recruiting that is obviously NIL, does that add stress on you? Did you feel any of that during this process?
No, so that wasn't a factor. That wasn't a big factor in my decision. I'd say the biggest thing was probably the relationship with the coaches, and that's probably about it.
But is that something you're able to just kind of like, because there's representation, did they kind of take the pressure off you a little bit? You got good people that are looking after you?
Yes, sir. Peter and Doug have helped me through a lot of this, and they've put me in a good position to be where I'm at. So grateful for them.
We'll take two more, and then we can get Jared offline here too.
Jared, can you talk a little bit about just the build-up to this? This doesn't happen a whole lot to kids in Middle Tennessee. What's this entire process been like for you, and how have you been able to kind of manage it and sort of maneuver?
I'd say it's exciting, but I took it day by day. Just take it day by day, and don't take anything for granted.
Last one.
It's a pretty unique shirt. Any story with the shirt, or just?
I just got this from Hollister, actually. I got a couple more things, but I had to take them back. They were a little too small, but I like this shirt a lot. So.
Thanks, folks. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Yes, sir.
So there you have it, five-star quarterback Jared Curtis giving thoughts about his commitment decision. We saw this moments ago, choosing Georgia in a ceremony at Nashville Christian School over the other suitor, the Oregon Ducks, family clad, all in black, the zip jackets coming down, the Georgia shirts revealed. I mentioned to Connor Riley a moment ago, kind of a retro vibe to the T-shirt, but in actuality, I guess it's a recently made item from an apparel maker that Curtis mentioned there, apparel maker you find in many shopping malls around the country. So apparently that's the case. You see Curtis's mom there to his left. She had the Georgia shirt on. A lot of that being revealed by the family there on the scene. So a big moment as Jared Curtis makes his college announcement there. And in listening to what Curtis had to say, I think my number one takeaway is, while this is a big day for Georgia and certainly an exciting day from Curtis, it seems like the big winner in all of this for right now is Georgia offensive coordinator Mike Bobo, who was mentioned several times by Jared Curtis in that announcement. I believe we're going to go back to Nashville Christian here. Jeff Sentell is standing by. Jeff, quite a moment you just saw there. What's your reaction to it all?
Brendan, it's kind of very big. I mean, what's the undiscovered country right now for Georgia football? They can win national championships. They can win SEC championships. They can win every home game. Maybe beating Alabama and signing and developing a 5-star into a first-rounder. I think that's the last uncharted territory for Kirby Smart. It's kind of funny, Brandon. It was a very full circle moment for me because Curtis articulated just a few moments ago the reason why he chose Georgia was familiarity, relationships, Coach Bobo and Coach Smart. Ironically, Brandon, and it's in the DawgNation commitment story right now, those were the reasons why he chose Georgia in the first place. I don't know how much of our audience paid attention to that post-game media scrum, but it was very interesting to hear Curtis talk about him trying to play a trick on Kirby Smart to say, basically mislead him, and then he had to stop halfway through it because he couldn't do that to Coach Smart. He's got his old school Georgia football T-shirt on right now. I loved how he gave the announcement to his family. He sent a text message last night in the family group chat, and he said, "Wear Georgia's stuff tomorrow." And he actually had gotten his dad in on the act to secretly record his mother, Barbara, her reaction when she finally saw that. So, Brandon, there's a lot of stuff going on here. This is I use the word seismic in the DawgNation recruiting story, the commitment story, because this feels like something that can definitely signal, hey, this is a 5-star quarterback, Brandon. What are the rates now for a 5-star quarterback? Probably $2 million, $3 million, $4 million annually. And Georgia hadn't gotten in that business before, but now Georgia is definitely in that lane with 5-star quarterback Jared Curtis. Little bit of news we want to make sure we report. He's got a back issue where he's not really fully cleared to go during spring practice. I'm told he will basically just stand still, throw routes, throw the route tree, no movement before he fully gets cleared. He said his first order of business is now to start talking to major Georgia targets. Jackson Cantwell was the first name across his lips. That's the 5-star offensive tackle, the number 1 offensive tackle prospect in the class. Ironically enough, Cantwell will have his decision coming on May the 13th. He will also be in Athens on May the 10th. Probably the next great question somebody like me can ask Curtis is if he plans to be in Athens on May the 10th for that Jackson Cantwell visit as well. He also expressed that he knew a little bit about Georgia's 2025 receivers. He mentioned Talon Taylor by name. That is very encouraging, Brandon, because if this thing works out, Talon Taylor and Jared Curtis will hook up for a lot of touchdowns in Athens. It's one of those things. My DawgNation colleague, Kaylee Mansell, I can see her right now, and she had a little PTSD from our last announcement with 5-star defensive lineman Justice Terry. Well, this one goes DawgNation's way at Nashville, Tennessee, in a very full circle moment where his first choice became his final choice, and Jared Curtis is a dog again.
I don't know if you've got time to take a question. You may have to jump off, and if you do, just feel free to do it. But if you do have time, I'll ask you a couple of things. Thing number one is this. I said this just before you joined us. It certainly seems like a big winner in all of this is Mike Bobo, name-checked at least 3 times in the press conference that Curtis just gave. Clearly, seemingly a validation of the Bobo relationship with the Curtis family, and also it would appear Bobo as an offensive coordinator. Is that your sense on that too?
Definitely so, Brandon. That's one of the things here is just familiarity, Brandon. And this goes back a little bit because he was offered by Todd Monken. And then he became re-offered by Coach Bobo. And the consistency there, Oregon, Dan Lanning, Will Stein, they haven't had the familiarity. Location was also a factor here as well, but in the end, he saw Georgia as the most comfortable place for him to be to make his decision. Brandon, I know everyone, the naysayers are going to be like, well, wait till December, wait till other things happen. I got to say, the feeling, you always want to know the feeling. The pulse here around the Curtis family is this thing is done, and the Dogs are going to get their highest-rated quarterback in a class since Justin Fields in 2018.
The other thing I'll say is I thought that Curtis spoke kind of interestingly on both sides of a similar coin when he talked about arriving at Georgia. He says, I've got a lot to work on. I've got a lot to learn. And at the same time, he also acknowledged that he would like to make an early impact too. So you heard both patience from Curtis. We've obviously seen high-profile quarterbacks wait in their first year before playing, but also that competitive fire to want to play as soon as he has the capability of doing that. I thought that was an interesting contrast and, frankly, pretty interesting phrasing from Curtis on that particular topic. Did you notice that too?
Yeah, I did. And it almost, he really understands that you should not go in right away and play at Georgia, especially the amount of development, the jump in levels that we've discussed before to talk about as well. You've got Jared Curtis, who now can really touch any spot on the field. When I was talking to Nashville Christian head coach Jeff Brothers today, Brandon, I asked him to describe the arm. And he said he used the term otherworldly to describe the arm. And he said, here's the difference. I can go down a list of names. A lot of strong arm guys, a lot of big arm guys. The difference with Jared is he can complete the ball with accuracy to the check downs, the swing routes, the slant routes, the underneath stuff as well. He can make all those throws. And he's like, it's easy to – I know it sounds like hyperbole. I know it sounds outlandish, but brothers told me it's not hard to do when all you're doing is telling the truth about Jared Curtis.
Really interesting stuff. I'll also ask you this, and I'll let you get back to it, because I know you want to talk more to Curtis here before you get ready to say goodbye from Nashville. We heard Jared say that it had been a stressful last couple of days for him. The final in-home visit for both Will Stein and Mike Bobo, that didn't take place over the weekend as anticipated, but nonetheless, it sounds like Curtis was still dealing with some stress as he made his final decision. We didn't hear him say this a moment ago, but do we have more insight into what was stressful about those final couple of days?
He said just basically telling two coaches, two staffs he had grown quite familiar with, telling one of them no. And he articulated, Brandon, I believe he made this statement, that he finally told the Oregon staff, Coach Stein and Coach Lanning, very late into the game, into the end game this afternoon, perhaps as late as 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock was when they learned, and obviously Coach Bobo and Coach Smart at Georgia had learned a lot of that before that as well. They heard the good news, even with Curtis trying to prank Kirby a little bit. Now, Brandon, I know you're probably allowed the product placement of Hollister inside a DawgNation Kroger commitment special, because that was how Jared Curtis described his OG T-shirt he was wearing to the media scrum here today.
Any final thought from you, Jeff, before we let you get back to it?
Yeah, everybody hit your X platform, your social media. Our hard-charging reporter, Kaylee Mansell, shares with me that Jackson Cantwell just gave a hearty congratulations from one 5-star to another to Jared Curtis today on his commitment to Georgia.
We will keep our eye on that, Jeff. If something happens, you want to break back in with us, we'll let you do that. If not, we'll look forward to reading more of your coverage there from DawgNation.com. Excellent work there from Nashville. We certainly appreciate your time. All right, so good stuff.
Thanks, guys. We'll get back to work.
Good stuff there, Jeff Sentell on the scene, Nashville Christian School. Let me also get ready to bring back my other DawgNation colleague, Connor Riley, after what we've heard from Curtis and Jeff Sentell's reaction to seeing Curtis live. As I mentioned, it certainly looks like Mike Bobo walks away one of the big winners in all of this, mentioned several times by Curtis, and I think a real strong validation of what Bobo brings to Georgia from the lips of Georgia's most recent commit, the 5-star quarterback. What did you make by how Mike Bobo-centric Curtis's words just were?
It's a massive win for the beleaguered offensive coordinator. And look, if he's ultimately going to coach Jared Curtis, a lot is going to have to change with this offense in 2025 and what they're going to need to get out of, excuse me, as I get my camera situated here. They're going to need to get a lot out of Gunnar Stockton. And, you know, look, Stockton is, I think, a 2-year starter at Georgia. I think he's going to start this year and in all likelihood in that 2026 season, which would be Jared Curtis's first year at the University of Georgia. But what was interesting to me is that when he was asked about, you know, guys that he's talked to at Georgia, the first name that came up was Ryan Puglisi. And I think the addition of Curtis and what that means for Puglisi's future is so interesting, because I think they're obviously going to probably be the guy that replaces Gunnar Stockton at that quarterback position. Look, there are some that wonder and worry just given how long Georgia has often had guys wait to become starters. You know, Gunnar Stockton emerging at the end of his third year, Carson Beck waiting till year 4, Stetson Bennett, you know, coming in as a walk-on, leaving, and then waiting till his real third year of college football to become a starting quarterback there. I think that they already have a strong bond, I think is encouraging going forward. And you know, so much of, I think, what went wrong with Georgia in 2024 can be chalked up to chemistry. And so to see Jackson Cantwell already reaching out and celebrating the commitment of Jared Curtis, Derek Cooper, a highly touted running back prospect out of Florida, he doing the same and sort of celebrating the commitment there. I think all those little things are very encouraging moving forward as far as what this looks like for Jared Curtis, who, well, again, at Georgia, the value of a five-star quarterback is lesser than it would be at other programs. It still means a great deal that a prospect of this caliber bought into the Georgia program, and more specifically bought into the future that Mike Bobo brings to this program.
Yeah, the way I would say it, and I think the way you're describing it's really interesting, is there wasn't a high degree of like sentimentality here with this, and I don't mean that in any way critical. You know, Curtis didn't really grow up a Georgia fan, it doesn't seem, although it certainly seems like his family, liked a lot about Georgia. But there isn't one of these things of, as an 8-year-old boy, Jared Curtis was dreaming of playing for Georgia, and this was the only college choice he was ever going to make. Nothing about the ceremony we just saw would lead you to believe that's true. Instead, it's more about what you're describing. And I think from the perspective of Georgia, this is kind of a good thing. In shopping for the best overall fit, without the emotion and sentimentality that you sometimes see in recruiting, Curtis chose Georgia for the tangible on-field reasons, and probably perhaps some off-field stuff too. But it was a measured choice. It was a business-like decision, and not the sort of thing that we sometimes see where deep down the in-state guy always wants to go to the home state school. You got the impression that Curtis might have been willing to go anywhere, and yet ultimately it is Georgia that he now views as the best fit for, as he repeatedly said, because of the relationship he had with coaches. In a way, that's almost what Georgia maybe needs to hear more, that it can win with the five-star quarterback on the merits. And I think that does, speak well of what the future of the Georgia football program can be.
Yeah, and it's that word future there that I think Curtis represents so much of. It speaks to that, hey, in this new look college football world where we expect revenue sharing to be a factor, Georgia's going to be able to contend there. They're going to be able to go out and win these big national recruitments, where I know it was between Georgia and Oregon at the end, but there was a time when Auburn was involved, Ohio State, Alabama. Those types of programs were involved in this recruitment, and Georgia's able to win out in part because of the long-term scouting they did, the long-term investment that they made in Jared Curtis, I think is so huge for the future of this program. And look, Jared Curtis, well, yes, he is a five-star, highly touted guy, and there's going to be, I think, a natural desire to see him come in and play right away. I don't think he's going to be a year one starter. I think part of the reason why he's going to Georgia is because there's not going to be that pressure or expectation on him to start right away at the University of Georgia. And so moving forward, looking ahead with Curtis, again, the thing that I've harped on, I've got a story on this coming tomorrow morning. The history of five-star quarterbacks at Georgia under Kirby Smart, it's not all that great. Jacob Eason is the only one to start a game of the three that they have landed in that time. But with Jared Curtis and where this sport is heading and what it means for Georgia to land a player like Curtis, as you see him celebrate with what appears to be his teammates there, they're going to have to get the absolute most out of Jared Curtis, and he's going to have to develop into a guy the way neither of those past 3 5-star quarterbacks, and if you want to include JT Daniels, do as well, as a guy, as the face, as the quarterback for the University of Georgia. Matt Stafford was really the last 5-star, maybe if you depending on where Aaron Murray ended up as a prospect, and I believe some rankings had him as one. They're going to need a 5-star quarterback to develop and play and be the face of a program, because the investment that is made in Jared Curtis, not just from a financial standpoint, but from a time standpoint as well, is so critical moving forward, where the resources are going to be more and more finite.
Connor, we'll look forward to reading that from you at DawgNation.com. We appreciate your analysis as the 5-star quarterback Jared Curtis makes his commitment today. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep, as always, it was a pleasure.
Great stuff there from Connor Riley, and a great day to be a Georgia fan as 5-star quarterback Jared Curtis follows a long path with his commitment. At one point in time, going back to last March, making his announcement to commit to UGA, then in October of last year, decommitting from Georgia, but also seemingly staying pretty close to the program throughout. It was only a few weeks later, for instance, that he was back on campus for the Tennessee game, and then a subsequent series of unofficial visits have led to the moment we just saw in Nashville, Tennessee, his hometown, at his high school, Nashville Christian School. For the second time, and we believe the final time, Jared Curtis has made his pledge and his commitment as a part of the 2026 class of the Georgia Bulldogs, citing the relationship with the coaching staff as his reason why. Also stating that he's now ready to get to work on Jackson Cantwell and other primetime members of this 2026 class, ready to become an elite recruiter on Georgia's behalf to help populate this 2026 class with other top players around him. The kind of old school, retro-looking Georgia T-shirt, a little bit different than we sometimes see, but certainly well received by all the Georgia fans who've been tuning in to watch this here tonight. We obviously appreciate our friends at Kroger who make this all possible. Of course, you're getting ready for a great spring and summer. Kroger's the great resource for you on that. Cookouts and graduation parties and everything else. You can shop in-store at your local Kroger. You can go online at Kroger.com. You can also become a Kroger Boost member and take advantage of free grocery pickup, free grocery delivery, twice the fuel points on the things that you're already buying at your local Kroger. They've been good friends of ours for a long time. They've been bringing Kroger commitment specials for almost the entirety of the Kirby Smart era. And we're, of course, once again, happy to have them with us tonight. We're also happy to have had you with us here this evening as well, as the five-star quarterback, Jared Curtis, announces for Georgia once again. Big news for the Dogs. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about it here tonight. And we'll see you soon, everybody.